Five, four, three, two, one.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it, the premiere of my channel, Mufc Realist TV. Premiere, woohoo! Here we go, new season, new channel, fresh idea, real opinions, passion. That's all we can say. Please join. And we are here live. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good evening, Phil. How are you doing, sir? Again, nice to see you.
Good evening. Yeah. Can't believe 1 year ago, zero, nothing.
Oh, God, can you believe it?
One late conversation between you and me, and that was
One,
it. Bang.
1 year later, like
absolutely fantastic, mate.
SpongeBob SquarePants. 1 year later.
Yeah.
No, unreal. 15k subs, 1 year anniversary today. Fantastic. We had a lengthy stream before earlier, like as a birthday celebration stream, and today is something different. Usually we do like, positive stuff, like, United Standish today, but we had something that we want to sort of do, and that's giving back to the community, right? And that is talking about mental health. So Phil, take it away.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. A little bit more of a somber approach tonight. Normally we're full of life, trying to get you all G'd up so late on a Friday night. But I think after what broke with the Dele Ali story yesterday, which I'm sure most of you will have seen or read a little bit about or something like that, it just felt a little bit more poignant that we changed the normal United Standish that's all just chatting about things that's gone on in the week and with United and what's coming and things like that, and just focus on something a little bit more somber for a change. It's a mammoth conversation. It's in the media all the time, but it's often looked over or brushed past, or it's really important for a moment and then it's gone the next. And what I wanted to do tonight, I wanted to talk through some examples. One that's I read several years ago now, and it stuck with me and it changed my mindset on social media at the point where I was just kind of getting a bit more into it. And I want to go through some of the things that came out of the Dele Ali story.
Yeah,
no. A couple more, just a few more little people just to talk about, the likes of Jesse Lingard, Jadon Sancho, Martin Demichelis, just a few little excerpts from little things that have come out in the media either over the last week or over the last few years or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's I saw the Dele Ali story yesterday, and it's just a quick reminder, like, and I've been talking about this Greenwood story as well, like, don't cast a stone if you don't know the background story. Like, people are so quick to judge, but behind each player there's a human being as well, with flesh and blood, with emotions like us, and everyone is going through struggles, right? Everyone probably don't want to talk about it. You keep it to yourself. It depends on personalities, right? Personally, I've dealt with struggles in my past, as well. So it was kind of touching to hear this emotional story. But once he revealed that he was molested as a child, a 6-year-old, thrown off the bridge or hanging off the bridge when he was 11 or something, and sent off to Africa for being a bad kid, for being disciplined against his will, and the sheer struggle, like, it's not easy. And we were judging the player like, oh, he's lazy, look at that bum and stuff like that, calling him names. But there is a player in him. There is definitely a player in Dele Alli, 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, starting with Dele Ali, one of the things that, you've touched on some of the things already. I think some of the things that we just need to look at is, I'm sure most people have either got their own child, or a nephew, or a cousin, or they will know somebody who has a child at the age of 6. And it was at the age of 6 that Dele Ali said he was molested by his mum's friend. And that was, it suggested, he didn't go into too much detail, but the suggestion was it was in his own home, which is supposed to, it's supposed to be a safe place.
Safe haven, yeah.
It was while his mum was there, but she was so drunk that she probably didn't even notice because she was an alcoholic.
And he said there was always 10 guys around the house all the time.
Yeah, and he didn't go into detail what the 10 guys were, but he did touch on the fact that perhaps they were drug dealers, and obviously anyone can make their own assumption what other things 10 guys were doing around the house constantly. That's at the age of 6. I mean, that is going to have a serious impact on anybody's life. Anybody, 6 years old or young, it's like they're not even in the juniors of a primary school. And this is the sort of thing that kids should not have to go through ever. No one should have to go through it. But for a 6-year-old to then think it's the norm, some of the things that he was saying was like at the age of 7, he started smoking.
Dealing drugs.
He had his own house. Drugs. He could come back when he wanted. He said
there was no rules.
There was no rules whatsoever. At the age of 8, he was dealing drugs because it was an easy win for him. He'd just carry his football and have the drugs underneath, sort of thing, and nobody would suspect an 8-year-old. And as you say, 11, he was hung off a bridge by a man from the next estate, probably to do with drugs at the age of 11. It's like, my son's 11 right now. And so it's very, and I'm a coach for a 11-year-old kids football team. So I can very easily relate to that age and see.
Yeah, you could.
Not I don't want to imagine it, but sort of look at that child and think, my son is such a child. And even the kids in the football team who are the older heads who are more mature, they've got a very immature, childish. They are still only 11 years young.
Yes. I mean, you don't even have to have a child to be thinking. Just, go back in reverse and think when you were 11. Like, were you mature enough? You were you didn't know what the world was until you graduate from high school and went out to the reality or start working and understand what responsibilities. Parents are there to protect you from all that evil stuff in the world. And that's the thing. It was an eye-opener. But before we continue, Phil, I mean, we owe it to say at least good evening to the VER room, everyone that's in the house as well. We have a good evening from Lucifer Morningstar. Good evening to you, Morningstar. Hope you're doing well. David Williams is in the house as well, in the VER room. He's here.
David.
And Angie's also here, one of our moderators. Jeff Bezos from Amazon is here sponsoring us. Jarl is in the house as well. So there's no Jarvis today. Jarvis is currently hopefully listening. He's driving down to South Carolina, having some spice hot chicken wings, I guess. So Jarl is one of our pepperoni pizza eaters. He's always making pepperoni pizza. So wherever Neil Driscoll is in the house as well. Jarvis is not here, Neil Driscoll. It's me and Phil Standish. Dr. Phil.
Evening, Neil.
Today you're Dr. Phil. Jokes aside.
I've no medicine. I've just got my own thoughts.
Yeah. What's up, folks? What's up also to you, Craig? Jonathan Ball is in the house as well. Listen, Mo Hamza, evening Mo from Qatar. Everyone has a story to tell, basically. That's the thing, right? I'm just...
Yeah, so I'm not going to mention who because I don't know if they want it publicized to YouTube, but somebody's mentioned within the chat that they found out that their uncle committed suicide in the 1980s. It was the dad's brother.
Oh my God.
And it's just, it's something that they've said that they don't talk about it very much. They certainly don't talk about it as a family. And it's...
Listen.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Tank is in the house. There's like There's levels of seriousness when we can talk about this show. Like, most of the time we gas it up, we have fun, but this is more of a serious, because at the end of the day, I want to share the link. So if you want to talk about it, like if you have anything to share, like, ease off your chest, you don't have to be on camera, but if this community is all about sharing, and we go stronger mentally by being a community, by being a family, right? I know when I went through, I hit the wall. That was back in Asia Pacific when I was living in Malaysia. I was isolated in a way, like, alone with the dog and the cat, and wife has left over to Europe for 3 months, and I just hit the brick wall, like, and it was scary as shit. You know what I mean? It was really, when you were not even able to string 3 sentences, you were just sitting there, not sleeping, not doing anything. And that's what they say, like, it always comes and haunts you, like it just hits you in the back of your mind, right? It starts with the pressure on your chest, anxiety, you can't breathe, and all of a sudden it just hits you. And that was the most scariest moment of my life, because I didn't see any way out than a rope around my neck and end it, right? It was horrible, horrible cycle. And that's what I said when I heard Dele Ali speak, to say, like, you look yourself in the mirror, because I was standing and looking myself in the mirror, and I said, you are in there, fight it, come on, right? And I got out of it. I won, because every day was a struggle over myself, right? I'm mentally stronger than, in a good place, than I've ever been. But I always been mentally strong. But even the strongest can actually get hit by moments like this, right? And usually when it comes down to mental health or depression, seldom comes with work-related stuff either. That's what I learned. It can be social stuff as well, right? This can be triggered by events that's going on in your life at that moment as well. But to have something heavy like that, like Dele Ali, and not talk about it, you can imagine how that is piling up on him. He got addicted to sleeping pills. I've been there myself, to be honest. And all I can say is, all this antidepressive and what doctors are prescribing you, just throw them away. Honest to God, throw them away, because your mind is stronger than the chemicals. The chemicals is not a solution. It's not a fix. It's never been a fix. It's just a temporary solution. It's like, you have addiction for, let's say, ice cream, and you swap it to, eating something else, which is the same calories, right? Just to quit cold turkey is never easy either. But all I'm saying is that back then I had nobody to talk to. I didn't want to talk to anyone, because nobody understood what I was going through. And if I could have type of WhatsApp message, I could hardly, took me 5 minutes to compose a message, right? And for me, that was the most frightening time in my life. But I remember back then, the only thing that saved me was my inner voice and another friend that's been in the similar situation, to say, dude, just pack up your bags, go home to Europe, leave everything. I left everything behind, all my material stuff. I don't know how I ended up on the plane. With just grabbed the dog and the cat, left all my belongings, never returned back. And that is my story, right? That was back in 2018, right? That was a 1-year struggle to get back on my feet again, and to listen to a Dele Ali story. And that's why I'm so resolute to never blame anyone. Like, always look at, there's a person, there's a reason behind everything, and there's an inner strength. And the inner strength is your voice, right? Telling you, push on, push on, push on. So when he said that, like, he looked himself in the mirror when he was 24, to say, if I only could retire now. I know that feeling. But there's another voice in him saying, no, you're good, you're better than this, right? So if I haven't reached out for help for a friend of mine that understood and listened to me, he took care of me. He basically helped me to pack up my bags and everything. I would have been in a 6 feet down, to be honest. So, and that's why I'm so pro of speaking about this, provide a voice of reasoning. And that comes down to being a fan as well, that, you know, this takeover news and this transfer news, it's just a game. It's just an escapism, right? At the end of the day, what matters is your family life, yourself, that you really take care of your mental well-being, right? And that's why I'm so against all this clickbaity stuff that leads you into a path of feeling depression. All right. Listen, I just have to open up the door for my cat. Hang on a second. Can you take over? Hang on a second.
No problem at all. I just want to ask, I'm seeing some comments in the VAR room in relation to the to things that have happened to yourself or to your family. And before I read anything out, I'd just like you to clarify at the end of a message or somewhere within the message, beginning of the message, because I know that we've got a great community. You all talk to each other in the VAR room, and you're a great support to each other. I wouldn't want to read something out if you wanted it to be kept private, and it wasn't to be shared on YouTube. So, Edward Reed, you've written a message. I'm not going to say what it is, but I would just like to confirm whether or not you're happy for this to be read out. I've made a note of it, and if you're happy for it to be shared, then please let me know. And I will, you know, it's another point of discussion in relation to the things that we're talking about tonight. So yeah, if anybody is making any comments or anything like that, please just let us know. It is a very different show tonight. It's very emotional. It's real. That's why it's emotional. So many people can relate to it in so many different ways.
Yeah, I just posted the link in there if anyone wants to call in and have a chat as well, talk about the experiences and those kind of things. I know, but it is related to being a fan. It's related to everyday life. And, you know, what I'm trying to say is it might sound heavy, but, you know, you better look after yourself. Because there's so many people around you. They love you, they respect you. I love you all in my community. I've to come here 15K subscribers in 1 year. It's been a lot of grafting and a lot of people been trying to cancel and stuff like that. And you learn on the road, right? You learn on the road. So all of you is kind of become my extended family. And it's important because I get messages all the time. Oh, what's going on with the takeover? What's going on with the takeover? Constantly. I'm saying, relax. Take a chill pill. Relax. Don't get to you. Don't let it get to you. That's the thing. Que sera, que sera. That's what they say. What will be, right?
Absolutely.
And if you're stressed over work, nobody's going to rise a statue over you either way for not doing it. You know what I mean, Phil? You constantly feel pressure by doing something good all the time. But nobody's at the end of the day is going to rise a statue of you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if you're concerned about money and stuff like that, money you will not take with you when you die anyway.
No.
That's the thing. So you're born naked, you die naked. Whatever you do, it's in between your hands. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, the power is in with you, the inner strength. Okay, that's heavy.
It's all heavy tonight. It's all heavy. I mean, there's been a comment made by Edward, which I've now had permission to share, so I am going to share it. This is what he wrote. One of my friend's sister was raped when she was 13, many years ago, back in the 1980s. And then a few months later, she committed suicide. And to this day, we just can't talk about it. There's many people in the chat talking about antidepressants and some they will work for some people and not for others. We're not a doctor. We're not a. This is like, I know Mick said in the past, like an open heart surgery sort of thing where we just look at the situation, but we don't. The advice we give is just from our own personal experience or from our own thoughts or our own mindset. It's not professional. I'm saying that, sorry, mate, because there's different opinions in the chat of some saying some things work, some don't, etc. And so I think it's just a time of sharing. In many ways, there's a lot of people coming out. You know, what Jarl has said here. 2007, lost both my mother and my grandmother. No education, no job. I had to take care of my sis and brother. I got education, got myself a job. We crawled out of the hole.
That's it.
You just work. You know, you never know what cards you dealt with, sort of thing. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a big one. It's a wow. That's a tough one. All of a sudden, like, you know, you have no choice. And you know, I keep having this discussion with my wife, which is not from the Western world, right? Back where she's from the depression doesn't exist, mental health doesn't exist, right? So she's saying, what depression? We don't have the luxury to be depressed. We have to dig ourselves out of the hole, like work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's got a point, right? Whenever I go to a doctor here or something, they always want to give you some medicine, like, you know, here in Sweden they just give you depressives medicine straight away. I was like, I don't want that shit. You know what I mean? Right? If I can't fix it myself, what is pills gonna do? Like, it's just paper over the crack. That's the thing. But anyway, it's in relation to footballing matters as well. What I want to talk about that I don't often talk about is when you work as an intermediate as well, is that nowadays agents, they just don't look after the transfer, they look after everything, like the 360 degree, and that means the player's well-being. Definitely you are being the counselor for the player as well, and usually they surround the teams with counselors, or, you know, at least legal representative, but often the player agent is also acting like a counselor between the wife and the agent, and being like an intermediate in between. But you can't just be there 24/7 all the time for the player as well. You can't really be a babysitter to say you're not allowed to go a party, or, you know, you don't know, right? You know, and the player will never tell you, like, you know, I'm on some anti-sleeping pills. And apparently what Dele Alli was saying, it's so usual among elite players that they take sleeping pills because of the adrenaline before the game or after the game as well, to have a good night's rest. Wow, cool.
He did, and Gary Neville questioned him on that. He said, "Do you think, you know?" He kind of was, "Wow, what is this? Is this a big thing in the game at the moment?" And you're right. He did say that it was something that is common, but it's common to have maybe the one a day or whatever it was. But he did become addicted to them. And he got to a point where he wasn't getting them through the football doctor. He was getting them through other means, which obviously he's not going to say what it was, but he knew it was wrong. He was taking them in the day, not to sleep, but because it was an addiction. And he was, you know, you mentioned parties. He was holding parties that were just going on all the time in his house, even when he wasn't there and stuff. People, and you mentioned about what people know, and none of his close friends even knew about it.
No, I can relate to that.
But what he did say, which is just something I just want to read out, he said that he would hide things from his friends, but the likes of Eric Dyer, Kane, Son, they pulled Dele aside and they told him that they didn't approve of what he was doing. And he said, for his perspective, and I know everybody's different, but from his perspective, he said that they were his real friends, the ones who weren't afraid to speak to them about the truth and not tiptoe around it, sort of thing. He said, you know, you need to be more vulnerable. A lot of problems he said he'd faced had not come from opening up. He just hid from reality, and he was afraid to lose his identity. You know, at the end of the day, he's a young footballer who's come from a lower league club, played against United in the cup. Suddenly, everyone's like, "Who's Dele Alli?" Next minute, he signed up by a Premier League team, and that was it. He was right to stardom. He was in the England team and everything.
Yeah, well, he was adopted also to his adopted family, and there was just a period of 3-4 years until he started professional football.
That's right.
But
age of 12, wasn't it?
Big up Angie as well, saying she's been on antidepressant for 34 years. Still days I just want to be myself and don't want to speak to or see anyone. Haven't been able to cry for at least 15 years. that's the thing. And big up Angie for sharing, one of our
Thank you.
members and moderators. And that's the reason why I don't believe in those pills, because it robs you of your personality. That's the thing. It makes you numb, like you're zombified. You know what I mean? You have no emotions, no feelings. It's just numbs your endorphins, numbs you everything, right? So you're just like a straight line.
Yeah.
So big up for sharing as well. Edward Reid, I think maybe a few more footballs might decide to come out after seeing how strong Ali has been. 100%. And that's why we're coming out to talk as well, in a way. That's why I also decide to share my feelings, right? I don't often talk about it, but I feel it's time to talk about certain things, right? Right. Everyone goes through some crisis in life, right? Simon Heron is also saying, hi guys, I've been on ADS since my mom died 2005, and I suffer daily from anxiety and depression. It's an illness I wouldn't wish anyone. Keep fighting it for my young kids. That's the spirit, Simon. That is the spirit.
Stay strong, Simon.
There's always that spark where you need to fight for, definitely, and never give up. According to my opinion, though, right? But everyone has different mentalities, right? I just say, like a famous golfer, Arnold Palmer used to say, if you get yourself in trouble, get yourself out of the trouble. It's very easy, isn't it? Anyway, so
yeah, I completely agree with what John Johnson's saying here. Huge respect to everyone sharing your experiences. No doubt it's tough to do, but hopefully sharing helps it a little. Yeah, big up. Thank you.
Big up, everyone. Smash the like. There's 49 of you in the chat room right now. I know it's not probably the content you're looking for, like the latest takeover, the latest transfers. The positive news is Onana. What's my name? Onana. It's a done deal. We do expect it to be announced on the weekend. At least we have something to cheer about and move on to the next target. Latest thing, what I read just now, according to... they're moving on to at least Rasmus Højlund. They want minimum £50 million, which I believe they're going to meet each other on €60 million. I think they're going to meet down that line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding the takeover as well, it's been a lengthy saga, 9 months dragging on. And everyone that's invested, Manchester United is our family. It's our church, right? And we just want to get the devil out of the church. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's been dragging on too. But I'm getting to the point right now when I'm just saying, you know what? As long as Erik ten Hag, he gets his targets, we have money to spend because football matters, right? It's how we're going to play next season. I look at it that way. And the new owner is going to come sooner or later. We go. So if anyone wants to call in, mate, I posted here as well, like in the comments below, right? You don't have to have your camera on or anything. I'm just going to paste the StreamYard link here anyway. What else do we have to talk about, Phil?
Well, I mean, I know that we've got other things to talk about, but I do want to just it's something that's been stuck with me for a long time, and I just want to touch upon it because it is to do with the mental health. I'm sorry to kind of go on about it, but I just think there's some things that I've kind of put together today to bring to tonight's podcast, and I just want to it's little things that it's kind of the follow on from it, and it just kind of goes in line with something I just picked up on, which Tank the Sherman's just said. This applies to Maguire and Jadon for the amount of personal abuse to get online.
Yeah, true.
And that's exactly what I want to kind of talk about. Jesse Lingard as a very big example. I did want to watch his full interview. It's about an hour and 15 long. I've not had a chance to go through it all. But the headlines basically says his mum struggled with depression. And from a young age, he believed that he'd been the root cause of his mother's depression, and he was living with that. He was living with that mental battle that it was his fault that his mum was carrying that depression. He was, when he was, and then towards we know when he had his highs for United, there were some times where you're thinking, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? And then, a couple of bad games and and especially with social media at the moment, as someone who is so much into social media, as it was well publicized for his TikToks and his dancing and his laughing and stuff, and he got criticized for that. He got criticized for, he didn't just get criticized for the way he was performing, or the fact that he missed a tackle, or the fact that he didn't look like he was trying, or he didn't trap back, or he missed a goal, or he was getting criticized for what he's doing off the pitch. And I think we see this so often in the media, just like people moaning, saying, what right have you got to be laughing after a game and stuff like that? It's like, that's the release. We've got to, as the public who are the fans, we've got to look at people differently and see what impact it's having on them. You know, I go to work, and when I leave work, I leave my work behind.
Yeah,
it's in front of me because I work from home, but I leave my work behind. If I make a mistake that day, no, I don't leave and then 5,000 people have a go at me about it. They don't judge me for it. I'm not. It's not all over the newspapers.
Oh, it's so amplified.
Because I've been out, because I've had a really crap day at work and I've made a mistake, and or I've not worked to my 100% that day. I've been a bit lazy in my approach to work. Tell me one person in the VAR room, one person on social media who can tell me they've not gone to work for a day of their life and not had a lazy moment.
True that.
Tell me one person. No one can do it, because we're human, and that is often forgot because these guys are on television. These people are on television. They're on so many millions, and you go, oh, I'd try harder for so many millions. It's not like that. You know, money brings its own problems. So we hear. I'm not one to be able to brag about that.
Yeah, but some people saying, well, they get paid big bucks to do that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but
as an excuse.
That's how much the wage packet is. You know, if your mate's getting paid 50 grand for doing the same job, you're not going to go, I'll take 5 or whatever it is, because you just want to be on par with the guy you work with. Yeah. Essentially, you know that some might be a bit better, or they've had a bit of a promotion, so to speak. You know, if you're looking at it from a day-to-day job, so you expect them to be on a bit more, or they've been here a bit longer, or they've done more in the bonus scheme, so to speak, and all those things. But in reality, we're all human, and it's forgotten. You know, when no one's going to forget it. I can mention 3 words, and everyone will know exactly what I'm on about. Beans, beans, beans. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those 3 words. How can that mean so much? Because he'd had a bad season. He went away on holiday with his friend Marcus Rashford, leaving football behind, trying to forget about everything. Nobody knowing what's going on with his life. Nobody knowing that. He says it was a situation. He said it was a situation that overshadowed his whole life. His mum was just in bed all day, sort of thing. His mum was admitted to hospital. From 2019, he was looking after his younger siblings whilst being away with United and being turning up at training and giving his all and trying to give his all on the pitch and and then go home and deal with this abuse and getting abused in the street. We've seen it from Mason Mount already. Getting hounded by, I'm not even going to say fans, by people trying to claim his signature. And he didn't say, no, I'm not doing it. He said, look, lads, I've done this for the last 3 days already. Stop following me now. This is a new guy who's just come into the club. He's getting harassed for a signature. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just never ending. It's like the human at the end of the day. The human.
What kind of Cro-Magnums are they actually? What the hell? Like, when you think about it, if you just stop, you know, take a moment, think 360, put yourself in the player's shoes, right? You constantly pressure to be in shape, being fit, worried getting fitness. You have competitive going to training. You know, you constantly have to fight for your place, and then you have to think about your performance, right? Talk about performance anxiety, right? Talk about the pressure from the fans, right? And then on top of that, people read social media nowadays. You know, back in the days when it wasn't social media, it was the Sunday paper, right? The thing is, but it's just frightening. And when they do have a holiday, imagine yourself, you switch off. You want to
Yeah.
forget about work, just go and recharge your battery. And then you go on holiday and you have paparazzis following. Oh, look at them. How can they? How dare they? Like in a party. Look, he's in fucking bastard. You know what I mean? How dare he had a crap season. Look at him now, like, getting fat. And just like, I mean, this is just madness. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a job, but it's 10 times, 20 times more amplified. And I think what somebody in the comments write as well, like, this is the opening. Dele Alli took the leap to show an example to others. Hey, I spoke up. And there's probably hundreds of more out there that are feeling the same thing.
Great statement by David. If you haven't walked in a man or woman's shoes in life, don't judge them.
That's a big one.
Very
That's
strong.
an Oscar Award comment.
That is fun. It's true. I've give these examples. And what if for Lingard, this dancing and TikTok was his release?
That was his joy.
And that was his climbing out of that darkness. He was having fun, and he said it. I mean, I've not had a chance to see the whole interview, but he was saying about he was trying to still be the fun Jesse.
That's it.
And even when he was trying to be that person, he was being berated for that. It's like, he can't be good, he can't be bad. What can he be?
That's yeah, that's normal. I don't know. I had a childhood friend of mine. We grew up together, we worked together and everything. I moved away to Australia. We still kept in touch. He called me. Hey Mikey, how's it going? Like, he was always happy-go-lucky, right? He was always the fun person. I'm not going to mention his name, but God rest his soul. But always the bubbly, nothing. They're never negative. He called me, and then 24 hours later, I get a phone call that he hung himself. Right. So he called me just to say goodbye, but without even telling, like, I was checking how you, I hope everything is fine. That was the last person that I thought would commit suicide. But now I kind of realized that it's a facade they put, like, it's an escapism to say, I'm all right, I'm okay. Like, always happy-go-lucky. And the same thing was Ali, and probably same thing what you look at Jesse Lingard, like, this clownish thing, but deep inside, it's a mess. And you don't want to tell people. He never spoke to anyone about it. Nobody understood up to today why he did it. You know what I mean? And he was also adopted child. Like, so that was a shocker, right? Because there's always anger that comes with it after that. Like, why you get pissed off. And then you start to think, maybe he wasn't that well off and mentally, right? But if only you could have spoken to me, mate, like, I would be there for you. But it was such a good disguise. You know what I mean? You always thought, he's always happy. He's always no worries, right? But for me to move away, there was kind of a, for him, I think it was for him, for me to move away was kind of like a little bit of a blow, because, I was always there for him. And all of a sudden I moved down under, like, 12 hours away, 8 hours away. And yeah, I kind of blame myself for it in a way. But at the end of the day, I realized it's not my fault,
You can't blame yourself for it. At the end of the day, that guy rang you
He did.
to talk to you because he was someone that you that he obviously admired. And you.
But he rang a few people afterwards. He rang 3 people. Well, I was one of them, and it was the same tone, like, it's basically for him.
You've got to take that as a positive, as a nice moment. You can't blame yourself for it because he wasn't telling you that he wasn't ringing for attention. He wasn't ringing to. I mean, I wasn't on that call, but from what you've said, he wasn't ringing to make it clear what his purpose was. but in his mind, it sounds like it was already made, and there's nothing you could do about that, mate.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pick up on a few comments there in the chat, which
Sure,
are
yeah, sure.
So people can't separate the player and the person. It's pathetic, really. I'm just going to jump onto something different that a guy called Fatty Donuts said, saying it's different, and we're like, you know, we're an open panel here, and we're open show, and it's we're open to different people's opinions. That's exactly why I'm not.
I know
no
Bobby here is one of our regulars.
So,
I know his story.
He's saying, you know, it's hard for me to watch as someone who's lost the best mate in Afghan. Can't watch things about football having a tough time because they're having a tough time with fans, etc. You know, and at the end of the day, what we said, you know, at the top of this show is everyone's different. Everyone goes through different situations, different circumstances. And what we've got to keep remembering is we can't judge everybody the same on the same measuring stick. First of all, we shouldn't be judging people. You know,
the only person that will judge you at the end of the day is God.
Exactly, and it says in the Bible, "Do unto others as you would have them do to you," sort of thing. And that's exactly it. You know, if you wouldn't, how would you treat someone like you would want to be treated?
Yeah.
You know, and I understand what
I can relate to Fatty Donut because I know his story. You know, he was in Afghanistan, you know, and I have a similar story like way back ago, but in another country. So it's when you've seen that, you start questioning about humanity, right? What are we doing for? Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, life is too short. That's the thing. As far as I know, you have one life, one opportunity. It's like that Eminem song, like, don't blow it, right? You can do the best out of it. And that's why I started. My mentor told me, you're born naked, you die naked. Whatever you do, it's up to you. And it's like, wow, that's deep, right? Anyway, so again, it comes down to we shouldn't judge. That's the thing. And I never judge, right? I learned that. And even when this Mason Greenwood story, I've been quite in the middle. I don't judge. I don't throw the stone, and we don't know what's going on in the background. And today I saw a picture of him and, you know, his newborn baby, like, you know, just a symbol. And I went, wow, that's a big one to become a father, you know.
It is, and that obviously is going to have its own impact. And I've already seen the impact on social media. Again, it's a split decision. You've got some people saying, you know, does someone get a chance to turn their life around? You got people saying clearly that they're trying to make a go of it and they appear to be happy. And you've got others saying never, you know, can't change the spot, sort of thing. And we've had people on the show, either in the VAR room or live, who are very strong opinions on this based on the fact of what they've experienced themselves or what they know of somebody else experiencing. It's
just want to mention what Craig is saying as well. Unfortunately, men have tendency to secretly hide in their turmoils. I know this from my own personal experience, and that's the thing. It's kind of a little bit of a taboo side. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, depends on which generation, you're not allowed to be emotional at all. Like, you know, you should just swallow it up, be a man, you know, be a soldier. Just don't show any emotions. That was a women's job right now. But time changes, you know, the pressure changes, the social life changes, right? Work is getting longer. Demands are getting more harder on you, right? It's getting harder and harder. You are getting a family, you get responsibilities. Nobody taught you this in school, right? Nobody prepared for you. You're protected as a child. As soon as you graduated, you were on your own, and this is your learning curve, right? So everyone is battling every day for survival. And I don't believe, you know, everyone at the same, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And that's true, because if you can't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others, right? But it's also important that you surround yourself with people that understands who you are, not to judge you, right? Like, I have a brother that went through alcoholism, right? And you become an addict yourself. right? A co-addict, and you do everything in your power, but then you realize that it's becoming toxic, right? I was the only one that told him right in the face, straight fact. Everyone else was just tiptoeing around, like walking on eggshells around him. You know, poor you, poor you. I was like, no, it's not poor you, right? You grab the bull by the horn, right? So all of a sudden, I became the villain. I became the one that's, oh, you're so cruel. No, I'm not cruel, right? I did everything I could to help you, bro, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't want help, you just want self-pity. There's 12 commands of this, where you go in these 12 steps, right? So I cut my losses. I just said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. If you don't, I just did the rough thing. You say, I've done everything I can. I don't feel well. You're causing myself problems, my family harm. You've been messaging me horrible, horrible stuff, and I cannot tolerate it. Now, luckily now he took my advice, and we're in talking terms again. We're in better space, right? So, and that's the thing. That's what I said. You alcohol, pills, drugs. It's not the solution. That's the thing, right? That only leads you to one down spiral to another point. The solution is life.
Jesse Lingard said, what I needed was something to try and take the pain away and put me at ease and try and forget what was going on. And he turned, that was when he was taking his drink at night before he went to bed, because he thought he'd sleep better. Dele Ali obviously did it with his sleeping pills. And different people, we don't know exactly what happened to Jadon Sancho last year. We know it was a mental issue that he was dealing with, as well as a physical, but more mental from what we hear.
Yeah.
So sorry, Mohammed said, from my place, a man cannot show his weakness mentally or even physically. That's one thing we share as men from different parts of the globe, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. And that's the thing, right? We live in constant pressure. If you lose your job, you lose your dignity, you lose everything. But you haven't really lost anything, because you still have yourself. You still have your self-pride. True? Absolutely. And there's people around you that still loves you and cares about you, right? I know that everyone is busy nowadays, and everyone, funnily, I grew up in Sweden, and they have a weird thing that they say, like, take care of yourself and don't care about others. It's a weird Swedish saying, right? Egoistic, isn't it? But it's got a truth in it, because at the end of the day, like, nobody's going to help you when your chips are down. Like, only yourself can help yourself, right? And the ones that are close to you anyway. God, Psalms and Proverbs cope with the problems with people saying, yeah, 100%. No, okay. So Jesse Lingard, in a way, I must admit, I jumped on the bandwagon when it was Jesse Lingard time, right? I'm guilty, because I said, like, what is he doing here? Like, get out, like, what are you still lingering on? It wasn't his fault. He wanted to move, right?
He did. He wanted to move, and then obviously it was Van Gaal, wasn't it? Who he'd said about. It was Rangnick. Sorry, Rangnick claimed that Lingard had asked. He published in one of his pressers. He claimed that Lingard had asked for time off after a proposed loan to Newcastle had fell through, and then that's when Jesse Lingard took to Twitter himself and said, "I didn't ask for 2 days off. They asked me if I wanted the days off."
Oh.
And it makes such a difference. Just that little phrase of, like, the perception, the difference of him saying no. They offered it me. They what he was saying was what the club should have said is, we like Ten Hag did for Sancho. We've allowed this guy some time to deal with whatever he's dealing with. Dele Alli's come out and said that Everton have allowed him time to deal with it, and he's very grateful for them. Rangnick, for whatever reason, whether I'm not blaming this, whether it was a breakdown in translation, I don't know, but the suggestion was that it wasn't. You know,
Yeah.
he'd said he'd asked for time off, and Jesse said, no, I was offered time off.
Yeah.
And that should have been put that way, you know, because that is such a big difference. And he went off, and it was from there which led him to say, right, that's it. I'm obviously done here, and I need to leave. And that's when he saw his move to Forest.
Neil Driscoll saying, I'm in the green room or weight room to talk to you, but I don't see him at all. So I just posted the link again. So if anyone wants to come in and ease and talk, so feel free. This is an open mic, basically. It's for everyone to talk. Well, he gained a lot of respect, what Simon Heron is also saying. Like, well said, Phil. You rarely know what's happening in another person's life, and yet people have so eager to judge. And again, I bring it back to a lot of other persons, like, just Harry Maguire, for instance. I've never criticized Harry Maguire as a person in a way. I'm just, yes, Mr. Delusional, but that has its measures that you come out and did it to yourself to say, like, I don't have to prove myself, right? And you judge the player on the pitch, but never do I judge the player because I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, right? Behind his life. And same thing went with Greenwood, for instance. Like, he was a free man, he's got a baby and everything else. I don't know what went on in real, right? Nobody really knows, right? But we were so quick to harass and judge, you know what I mean? And mental health for him was also probably messed up, right? I know how it is if you've been wrongfully accused, because I've been there as well.
Yeah.
To be honest, which led to I have to be in the court. I had to fight illegally, and I won, right? But imagine what it does to you mentally, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And you can imagine them being a footballer and being constantly abused by fans. And it's a lie if they don't say, I don't check my social media account. It's what Dele Alli said. I didn't really care what they was writing about me. They could write whatever they want. But there comes a certain point when you start reading. And let's face it, nobody likes to read negative stuff about themselves, right? There's constructive criticism, but there's also like trolls, keyboard warriors, right? When I started this channel, I was defending people. Like, there was so much toxic Twitter trolls, like, elitism. And that's the reason why I started Realist TV, right? Because it was such a toxic environment in terms of divide and conquer. Like, I'm a better fan than you. Shut up. I'm a match-going fan. Shut up. You're an E-Red. Shut up. Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on a second. Why do you have to be a better fan than me, right? Are you the owner of Manchester United? No, you're not, right? I was supporting Manchester United since I crawled in my diapers, right? Thing is that I quit alcohol due to my brother, and that I haven't drunk alcohol for 9 years, to be honest. That's the thing. I do enjoy a glass of wine, a glass of beer now and then, occasionally, socially, but like that. And once I stop drinking and going partying every day or 3 days a week, you start to see it on another angle when you see drunk people. And it's like, oh my God, did I used to be like that? Right? You wake up the next morning, you check your phone. Oh no, did I drop that message? Oh no. So in a way. So anyway, the positive side is, I think that people are coming out and telling you the story, sharing. I think that's very positive, right?
This is exactly what I wanted from the show tonight. I wanted people to be able to feel that they could speak up more, because what I've seen from the interviews of Dele Alli, of Lingard, comments made by Demichelis, he was somebody, at the age of 15, his father was killed tragically in a traffic accident. His representative, you were speaking before, Mick, about your representative looking after you nowadays, and his representative, who he was potentially looking up to, ended up committing suicide. And it's like, that was at the age of 15. His mum was sick, his father was lost, and now he as someone was saying at the top of the show earlier about doing it for my kids, he's put, you know, Dele Alli says, I enjoy coming home, my family, playing chess with my daughter, my mates, my dogs. I don't go to restaurants. I don't go to theatres. I've no public appearances, and I just use WhatsApp, and I don't have social networks. I used it once Twitter in 2014 and never used it again. And it's sad that, you know, society continues to have that freedom to berate individuals. And it's not just, we don't just see it, we see a lot of it to professionals, absolutely, because they are obviously in the limelight and easy targets.
Easy.
But we see it a lot on social media to others. You know, you see comments saying, where's such person gone? She's been saying this, or he's been saying that. Can't believe they've come out and said this about them. Where they got all this information from? People being abused for comments that they've made, or for decisions that they've made in their life that people are judging them on, and I can't believe you're doing this and everything else.
Phil, I have 2 points that I want to mention about, and then there's like Luke Shaw was called fat all the time. It's got nothing to do with his football ability. It was just personal agenda. You're fat. That's just his stamina. He looked like big bone kind of thing. And now they're jumping on Jadon Sancho to say you're fat as well. What the hell is going on here, right? Another thing, that a story that you know is a famous, before my time, before everyone's time, there was a lady that was big on the paddock, if you remember, and she quit because of the abuse. If you remember, it's one of your mates.
Was she on the paddock?
I think, I don't know, but she stepped away from the limelight, hardly on Twitch anymore. She was constantly.
I'm not going to mention her name because I did contact her tonight, and I asked her to come on the show, but she hasn't seen the message in time, unfortunately. I don't know if she would have done or not, but you're absolutely right. It was somebody who was part.
I don't know if there was the paddock. I don't know what it was, but it was one
not,
of the
not the person I contacted tonight I don't think was the paddock, but it was a private message, so no one will be able to find it. But I did just see if she was free to join us tonight, because I felt that it is a topic very close to her heart. And she isn't famous. She just did a podcast like us, and left social media for a long time, or a good period of time at least, because of the abuse that she took and suffered. And I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You know, people. I think part of the problem is kids with phones. And when I say kids, I'm not going to put an age on it, because everyone's got a different mental age. But people who haven't yet grown up enough to have that responsibility to understand life, to be able to make the comments that they do. You know, when you think of what happened when Rashford and Sancho stepped up for England and missed those penalties, and the racist abuse that followed, to me, was that not the start of the decline of Sancho, of his mental state? How did he ever come back from that? Do you know what I mean? Is that not where we got to?
Blue Moon is a City fan, but big up for, he always comes on the channel, so you always have a place, no matter who you support. But
absolutely,
we got to be too honest to ourselves. We're all at the point in our lives we said cruel things to others. When you see impact it has, when you change values, true. The thing is, as soon as I've hurt somebody, I always put my hand up and I say apologize. That's the thing, right? If I realize I'm wrong, and I want to share something regarding, in the content creating space, what I've discovered is that you get a lot of stick. People are always trying to clip you for something. You get a lot of hate, and there's certain people that don't like you for some reason, but you never met me. So how can you just see me on the screen, right? You don't know me as a person. Today I was having a conversation with the gentleman. They said, call you full of BS and bullshit and all that stuff. But you know what it is? Everyone is looking for somebody to blame. And it's easier to blame somebody that you don't know. That's the thing, right? And I simply just fight fire with water and with kindness and say, look, if you're looking for somebody to point the finger and blame it on the Glazers. They are the ones for your frustration, not me. I'm just here providing you the information, right? We're just talking. We are just presenting facts. At the end of the day, how you receive it, it's up to you, how you interpret it. But I'm not the one you should shoot. Don't shoot the messenger. That's the thing, right? And I found that the hard way, and that's the ugly side of the Bird Blue app. It's so easy to hide behind a fake account or don't even show your face. I don't even take those faceless accounts seriously. If you see my account, for instance, I'm real. That's why I call Realist TV. What you see is my face. You have your face. Why should I hide, right? At least I have the courage to stand up and speak. You think it's easy to press the record every day and talk? No, I'm dyslexic, right? I don't get it right, but damn if I'm trying, and damn if I'm being cancelled, right? So I had my battles, like, people were going after me, right? When I started this channel in the mid journey, you remember this, right? This football fact check and all, took private information of myself and posted, blasted up, right? If you remember that, Phil.
I do remember it, yeah.
There was nasty. They went after private information, took off pictures, posted where I lived, my address, and my wife, and everything much, and it went too far, right? This is when it gets ugly.
I didn't know they'd gone that far, to be honest.
It went too ugly, and I know who they are. And unfortunately, they got shut down, right? It got shut down,
yeah,
because that doesn't exist. And I said, look, why are you doing this? Like, aren't we United fans? Aren't we family? Put your differences aside. If you don't like me because I'm doing content, fine. But your opinion is as much as valid as my opinion. Just because I'm not living in Manchester and I cannot attend the games, right, doesn't mean that I'm a lesser fan. But I have a voice, I have opinion, and I believe in freedom of speech. And that's, you will never silence me, never. I refuse to be a sheep. That's the thing. You can have a debate, but you don't have to. The mature thing is to, don't hang at your dirty linen out in the public. If you want to have a conversation, DM, right? Or talk to me in person. Always like this. You have something to say it to my face, That's the thing. Honesty. So that's why I created this platform to be real. Allowing you to be you. You can say whatever you want, but be civilized, right? And that's why you're seeing this amazing community that we build. Nobody's rude to each other. Everyone respects. And I believe you shape a community based on your values. What you believe in too. So big up to all of you here for sharing as well.
Absolutely.
And God bless you all. Yes.
Dele Alli gained huge respect from me. This is from Simon after the interview. I'll admit I thought he was a party boy with too much money. Proves again you never know what another human being's going through. Absolutely. At the end of the day, he said in his interview that he was deemed to be a party boy, and he hoped that would change people's mind. And as you say, it's we could mention. I think the more we talk about it, it's becoming more apparent the amount of people who this relates to. If you want someone to talk to, I can come on and talk about my experience.
Yeah, no, anyone is free to come in and talk. I just pasted the link there again. Just click on it, come in and talk, share. It's an open mic today. I know it's not easy. I know for some people, they just like to listen, but, it's not that bad. We will not bite you, right? If you don't want to have your camera on, I do respect, but, it's good if you come out and want to talk, but it has to come from you. So welcome, Baller. If you want to come, you're welcome. Listen, there's another thing also, which is related to Manchester United. If you remember, the coach.
Takeover?
No. Carrick, Michael Carrick.
Yes. I have my information ready.
Yes.
What I want to do on Michael Carrick, I could have took up. I read his book, Between the Lines, a few years ago, and this has stuck with me.
Wait! Before you continue, you know what, RJ, you got a point. Risen Banks got a lot of views on Twitter too, Mickey. I was in the camp, and I know Riz, I know Banks, and we went through the same BS last year without even mention. And they did a hit piece on me, including him in wrong category. I threatened to sue the person. The person doesn't have the channel anymore. He appears on another channel currently. I'm not gonna go into that path because I believe I'm a bigger person than that, you know. So for your information, that's another story off the topic. Jonathan Ball is in the house. Good evening for the second time in a row,
Yes.
Mr. Ball.
Yes, second time today, which is going to be a novelty.
Welcome. You got
Thank
Eric
you.
Ten Hag. You got Eric Ten Hag tickling your beard there, if you can see. Yeah,
Quite
he's got
right,
his
too.
hands up. How you doing?
Yes, quite right too. I'm okay. I'm okay. Well, no, I wouldn't say okay. It's a subject that deserves a lot more than I'm okay, really, isn't it? Doesn't it? It's a tough one for people, and it's hard. It's hard for people to talk. So I've always been of the opinion, because of what I went through, it's really important that I do talk. Because a bit like what Simon said in the chat, men don't talk about it. We don't, and we never have, and it's really.
Oh, sorry, I managed to mute you instead of me. Sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry. I don't know what you meant that you caught now. So
I didn't mean to cancel. Sorry, keep going.
it's okay. So I don't know if you just want me to jump into it. I mean, I've suffered with my mental health on and off since I was a kid. Came from abusive father. Started hurting myself, cutting myself. Had mental health problems. But like many people said, this wasn't considered mental health problems when I was a kid. It was you were either a good kid or a bad kid, and good kids got told to shut up, and kids seen and not heard, and that was it. And it was something that just wasn't talked about at all. So I must admit, until I was well into my 30s, I didn't even consider what happened to me as abuse. It was only when I was doing this course, because I used to be a nurse, that we were talking about abuse in the home, and I started checking off all the stuff and sort of the stuff that I'd done in response to that, and it was like, oh my god! And I had a complete breakdown at that point, and then I had another one more recently, and 4 years ago, I survived my own suicide. I took a lot of tablets, but thankfully a friend had suddenly realised I'd gone very quiet, and I had the police and the ambulance service break down the door and saved my life. So it's I never want to see someone else be in such a dark place. It's horrible. It really is horrible. And I've watched a lot of people and what they've said on the stream tonight, and you recognise it so much. And it's so hard to see people, good people, go through that. Well, any people. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, like Simon said. So, you know, it's hard. And what I did learn was I only got better by speaking about it, by not hiding it anymore, by letting people see the person underneath rather than the mask I used to show everybody.
Yeah. Things can only get better. You know that song?
Exactly. And it struck me with what you said about the person has to want to help themselves. I do a lot of voluntary work now with mental health groups. And we talk about our experiences and the way we try to cope with things. And one of the best things you said was the person has to want to help himself, and that was, we did like a 12-step program as well. Obviously, no, not the religious one or anything like that, but the first step was always, you have to recognise you need help, and the second step was then get that help.
Big up, baller! Everyone's giving you praise. Yeah, that's it. You know, and one thing that that came away from the Dele Ali experience is he did the right thing, and that is to seek professional help, therapy, instead of going to the pills, because it's just changing from one addiction to another, right? It's like switching alcohol to smoking weed instead, right? Because why you're doing it is just to numb your feelings in a way, right? To escape from the reality. But the only way you could face reality is to grab the bull by the horn, you know, and you can do it yourself, right? As I said, like Arnold Palmer said as well, you get yourself into trouble, get yourself out of trouble. He meant by a bunker, though. And that's the thing. And you know what I'm talking about when you're saying that. But there's always that helping hand.
Yeah.
There's one spark, one person that can change it. It's just a little spark, right? When you're in the dark hole, the darkest period of your life, you know in yourself that you have it to fight. But is that little helping hand, there's a little decided moment that can help it, right? When you say you almost ended, I was always thinking, fantasizing myself, the pain that I was in, different ways to end myself and how. I didn't feel anything, mate. I just wanted to end this pain. But I'm so happy. I'm still living. I'm still happy. That's the thing.
I think most people who actually go through to suicide are the ones that have lost hope. The worst thing you can do is lose hope. And hopefully, me sitting here and talking about it shows that you don't have to lose hope. It doesn't matter how dark it gets. It doesn't matter how alone you feel. It doesn't matter how you don't think anybody can understand how you feel. It's not true. It's hard to believe at that point, but it isn't true. You're never alone. But unfortunately, it takes something to reach out to someone and ask for help. The right person, especially. I've been on tablets now for 6-7 years, and they help me. But like people have said in the thing, they help some of the symptoms. You have to do the work to help the root cause. You either have to cut yourself off from the toxic people, or deal with your addiction, or deal with that trauma in your past. And that's not always easy, and it's not always possible for some people. Yeah. My lads was definitely one of them that's helped. And it doesn't matter what keeps you in this life. You keep it going, and then it passes eventually at some point. I can't hear you, Mick.
I was singing. Yeah. I was singing. Always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah.
Did it?
Always. It's sometimes. I think people could go, "Oh, that sounds a bit flippant," but it's not. Sometimes having a bit of laughter and a bit of happiness in your life, that's what it takes. It can't always be about sadness and being about mental health and wellness. You have to have some pleasure and happiness. You have to find that, whatever that is for you. For me, it's being a Man United fan. It's that passion.
What Stephanie's saying, asking for help is not a weakness. It's the opposite strength. That's true.
Exactly, Stephanie. Absolutely.
Right. Well, the thing is, I'm muting everyone here right now because I want to sort of, I used to manage a global team for many, many years. And the way I managed my team was to always have an open door policy, right? And that comes down to being a football manager as well. It's more about performance. It's more about understanding the person as well, because they come and sacrifice 8 hours of your day and even more, right? So leadership for me is to, engage with your people so they can sort of feel better. And stress related issues is not work related issues. Is usually what I found out when I have one-on-one conversations with them, is that they're going through something tough in, with social life, they're having a tough marriage or something like that, but there's no musts in life. There's no I have to, because you pile up the pressure on yourself all the time. And that's why I said nobody will rise a statue for you for doing certain things. So please take care of yourself. Whatever you read in the papers, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't take life too serious. But what you do take serious is your mental health, right? Because you're no good to anyone else. You're only harming yourself at the end of the day. So it's all about having your self-belief and your pride, because that you can never lose. And don't let anyone tell you anything different, that you're worthless or anything else, right? And that's what it is. And that comes with bullishism as well. That's kind of what certain social media has fostered, is to create that bullish environment that is so easy for being a keyboard warrior. And so many teenagers have committed suicide based on this, based on how you look on, the filters on Instagram and stuff like that. You got to look perfect. You got to have a, size 6 and stuff like that, look like a supermodel. Or even if you go to the gym, you want to look like that Johnny Bravo guy. But things is that you don't have the same genetics. That's the thing. We have different genetics, right? Some people put on weight easily. Some people can eat whatever they want and remain skinny. It's just genetics, right? But that's just who you are. And it's a cliche to say love yourself, but you should do that, right? If you start losing, love for yourself, then you're losing self-respect. You should never lose yourself self-respect, right? That's what I wanted to say. Phil?
Totally agree.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I've just spotted that Neil Driscoll's been trying to get into the chat for a while.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Share his Speak Live story. Neil, if you're still online, you need to go to this link that I've put on the chat on the screen, into the chat. It's live on the screen right now. You need to type that in, just follow that, and then you'll be able to join us as Johnny's done, and you can have obviously you can share your story as well. So yeah, please keep trying.
Yeah.
Please keep trying.
Please keep trying.
Yeah. Just a few comments that are in the chat. David Mean said, often people that go through depression suffer in silence. They don't chat about it. They often act like normal, that like the normal things are okay. And Angie said that there's too many people who suffer in silence. And we just hope that this sort of chat. You talk about famous people. You talk about people who are
Chester. Oh my God, Chester! Don't even mention about Chester. He broke my heart.
The outcome is tragic, but chat to family, chat to mates. It's
he
just
had 5 kids.
It's just reminders all the time. It's appreciate what Steph said. Very easy to say. Don't read or listen to hate. It can affect everyone, but don't battle it up. Talk about it. Big up Mick Phil. Thank you, Steph.
You mentioned a point, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. He had 5 kids, brilliant voice, and he committed suicide. And then 2 months later, his best mate, singer from Soundgarden, committed suicide the same way. Chris Cornell, one of the greatest singer ever, as well. So for me, that was tragedy, right? Because I was a big fan of Linkin Park. Jesus. And you had 5 kids. But it was more of the struggle of abuse. You couldn't get rid of the demons. Right? And that's the thing, the music industry is another toxic environment, because, they're constantly touring. They're constantly traveling. They don't even know where they are. It's extreme touring pressure. And drugs get so easy handed over to them by managers, by everything, sleeping pills, stuff like that. And then you become addiction. My friend also... I find it hard to talk about. If you remember Avicii, right?
Yeah.
He had the same thing. Nicest kid ever, right? Just a kid. he got addicted as well and ended his life in Oman. I saw him in Dubai, had a little bit of chat with him because I was in the music as well. There's such a creative talent, right? But it just got to him. He could not get rid of these pills, he could not get rid of the alcohol, the pressure of constantly performing, doing the next hit after the next hit. He just said, no, this is not enjoyable anymore, right?
I think it's one of the biggest problems that face people who can't talk about it, because what you end up doing is finding coping mechanisms to deal with the silence of not talking about it. And a lot of those coping mechanisms, even if they start out healthy, become toxic, become unhealthy. So when you get alcoholism, drug use, bad behaviours that are destructive for yourself.
Here's the thing what Blue Moon is saying, Robin Williams, I remember that. The guy was always positive, always a clown. Deep down inside, he was a mess. But that was
listen to his family history, like his I think it was his daughters that I saw talking about him, and he was loved. The guy was loved. But when you're in that place, you don't see it, or you think they're better off without you being in their life. And it's not true. It is not true.
Well, then you're so good at hiding it. Some people are very good at hiding it, like, you know, to put up a facade. Like same with my mate that killed himself as well, committed suicide. He was always that Robbie Williams type, like always funny, always like everyone was happy around him. Never in my life could I imagine him commit suicide, right? It was a shock. But, you know, if you hide it so well, all he needed to do is just reach out for a little bit of a help. That's the thing. But some people are feeling ashamed of doing so. So big up for all of you for sharing. Big up for all of you that's sharing. Because I think it's a strength to show the weakness to talk about your problems. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
When I used to hurt myself, I hid it very well. I would do it in places that people didn't see. And actually, when I was at my worst, I was starting to collapse mentally, and I started to do it more and more. And I did it in a place that became very obvious. And it was my colleagues realizing what I was doing that sent me off the cliff, because I never wanted them to know. So it was the shame and the feeling of failure and the feeling of disgusting myself that actually sent me over the edge and to that point. And I wish I knew what I knew now back then, just to reach out. That it's not shameful. It's not a sign of failure. It's not a sign of weakness. The strength is reaching out. The strength is getting up every day and facing it. The strength is being brave enough to go, I need help, to someone, whoever it is.
Big up Craig as well for sharing. Run my successful business for 13 years, same as me, Greg. People are surprised to learn that I have suffered with anxiety and depression most of my adult life. I sought help, and every day is a challenge. 100%. Every day is a challenge. Every day you wake up. And I just want to also give up to our fellow content creator that took his life, Claude from AFTV. If you remember, it's time to go, right? He was loved, he was special, but he was suffering, and it was just a shock. Anyway, I know it's not the most positive things, like it's so unreal realist TV, but at the same time, it is realist TV, and you know,
I think it is positive, Mick. Mick, it is positive. Talking about this is positive. Talking about this in a safe place with people that you can feel you can talk, be open with, be vulnerable to, like I've been, it's a positive thing. This is positive. It may not feel it, but it is, absolutely. Like I said to you earlier in the other stream, you guys have helped my mental health, because I could feel myself getting more and more really wrecked by all this, by all the talk and all the negativity and everything about it. So having somewhere safe to talk to, it's positive, mate.
So this is your safe haven.
Why do you think you took such a depressed situation? Why do you think you took something like that so much to heart? You know, it's not. You know, obviously you're a big fan. It's not you, your family. What is it that you think that, because and I say this with full 100% respect, that I'm frustrated by it, I'm annoyed by it, but it doesn't depress me. Do you know what I mean? So do you think that's because of your previous state, and it's like small things can or other things can affect and kind of knock you back there, sort of thing?
I think for me, one of the biggest things was when my community psychiatric nurse used to come and see me and all this, and we used to go through all the risk assessments of what I'm doing. One of the things they said was, you need to stay connected to life. So what I was doing was going to football matches. So being a football supporter. I mean, people go, how can you be depressed and anxious and not want to, and then go to a football game? You can get lost in a crowd. You can be anonymous, but still be connected to it. And it kept me connected to my life for 2 years. And I think that because of that, it feels much more, I don't know what's the word. I do feel more affected sometimes by stuff that really I have no influence over. So, and I think that was the thing, the negativity that was being projected by all of it. That was what I was taking on board. And listening to you guys and talking it over, it's one of those where you go, actually, I have no influence on it. So why am I getting upset by it so much? Why am I getting so angry about it? It's not doing me any good. It's helped me take a step back. I think that's one of the biggest things, is my coping mechanisms are skewed by what's happened to me. I do have to take a step back. Like you said, Mick, you do have to have, every day can be a struggle. So there's some days I have to have a chat to myself and go, what are you doing, son?
Yeah. Big up John Johnson as well. I see Phil is on an iPad backstage, but we don't see you here. Like, as soon as you click and join, you have to click enter and stuff like that, and you will come into, I will see you, but I don't see you in here. So
Neil,
I'm sorry, sir. Neil. Yeah, Neil Driscoll. Good luck. I wish I could be technical support there to help you, but total respect to you. 100% total respect, John Johnson. Big up. Good night, John Johnson. He will say incredible, insightful, thoughtful, provoking stream. Big respect for sharing the experience, especially Jonathan going live. I'm going to dip out. See you next time. Have a good sleep. There's only one John Johnson, is what I say. That's the thing.
Talking about social media before, saying, would it was just going back a little bit, Edward was saying, would they be such an easy target if these trolls never had the internet? They wouldn't say it to the players' faces. It's true. It's keyboard warriors, as they're known, isn't it? Yala says life can be cruel in so many ways. Hate's all over the news. You can do not to have to look for before you see someone yelling at others. You don't have to look far before you see someone yelling at others. But the best thing is to make others smile and give a helping hand. Lovely little sentiment there. Craig Warby sent a super chat. Thank you so much, Craig. That's lovely. Love and respect, Mick and Phil, for allowing a platform for honesty. Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing your story.
Yeah, big up. Thank you. Listen,
thank you, Craig. Lovely.
Respect,
Craig and everyone else. It's been on my back of my mind to do something like this, like, once in a while, to just like Mental United. It's been on my back of my mind, and I guess this story regarding Dele Alli triggered me to do it. To be honest, I mean, actually, Phil came to me and said we should do it today, but I've been always talking about Mental United. We did a stream long time ago. Remember, Phil, when we talked about Mental United, we had Phil Brown on as well. Right?
We did, yeah.
We did. So I don't mind doing this. Like, if we can provide a voice of reasoning for you guys to ventilate and share. I mean, I think that is kind of, how do I say, that's the value, right? Maybe I was saying, usually we do like a lot of positive stuff, but some people see this as a positive, and I didn't realize until you guys told me, like, I thought it might be too heavy. Maybe I was still a little bit too conservative in my mindset, but at least, I'm speechless for everyone that's shared. And I think we should do it every bi-weekly or something. You guys let us know, you guys in the VR room, you let us know. you know, is it time to do this therapy? Yes, let's do it. Happy to do it, you know.
I think one of the things that, I mean, obviously I did want to talk about when I asked you about doing this today, Mick, was when we're going into pre-season. Well, we've just started pre-season, and already straight away you've seen abuse even for some of the youngsters. That, you know, some saying Kobe Mainoo was fantastic, some saying he's not good enough, he's never going to make it. It's like, you know, to them it's a passing comment, but to him, who's probably reading it, who's new to social media, who's a kid, who, let's be honest, is a kid at that age, is young at least, and Noah Emren, and you know, some are saying he was fantastic, some saying no, he's not, some saying he's better than.
You know what I
Yeah.
think it is. I understand what you're saying. You know what I think it is, right? And this is a phenomena since the social media. And everyone talking about this PTSD fans and stuff like that. But I think it's the years of abuse of, you know, the negative United, that it is kind of like a default in some people's minds. I call them Cro-Magnums that you know what I mean. But they're negative. There's nothing positive. Everything that you see is negative, negative, negative. Everyone is shit. Everything is shit. You know, Glaze is never going to sell. That's the mentality in their minds. But it's a defense mechanism. Have you thought about that? It's a defense mechanism that they rather put the negative out to tell you at the end of the day, I told you so. Right? So they already made up their mind. Kobe Mainoo is shit. He's never going to make it. They're shit. They're never going to make it. Glaze is going to never sell. It's a defense mechanism to defend your own feelings, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think looking at what you were just saying, Phil, as well. I mean, you just look at the guy that's moved today, Chong, to Luton.
Steve
He
Chong,
had awful abuse while he was at United because people didn't think he was good enough.
Yeah.
And like Craig said, Phil Jones, he gets pelters from like comics on national TV. It was like, I was so uncomfortable with the abuse he was getting because when you saw him, he did not look well. I don't know what's gone on. I honestly don't know what's gone on with his health. But the guy lost weight. He was obviously not well, but it was fair game for people.
I want to share a point with what David is saying. I feel mainstream media do not help the constant negative headlines. I've been saying that for quite a while, that they are equally guilty for splitting up the fan base and making you feel like what you feel. But you got to remember that they are in it for the business, right? You are their business. So negativity sells. And that's why I have a problem with, right? You're playing with people's emotions. For instance, today I read an article, and you have to pay $2 for it to read. But it's the most beautiful writing, you know, from a journalistic perspective, like from a creative writing. But at the end of the day, same waffles, right? Same speculations, waffles. So the only thing that you put in, will the Glazers really sell? Question mark. And that triggers people straight away. So you just have to filter the noise, right? You know, mainstream media, I don't watch mainstream media anymore. I just watch YouTube and alternative stuff, right? Because nobody will tell you the truth nowadays, right? You're being only told lies all the time in the mainstream because they have a narrative, right? They will never tell you the truth. You want the truth?
I think sometimes
you can't handle the truth.
I think sometimes A Few Good Men, a fantastic film. I think you know, Dele Ali pointed out that with the lazy.
Good night, Lisa. Good night. Sleep
Good
well.
night. Thank you very much. I know it's getting late, but thank you for joining us and sticking with us. Yeah, Dele Ali was saying in his interview how Jose Mourinho on the Amazon show had called him lazy in front of the cameras, and that has stuck with him ever since, that one statement. But what he goes on to say is a week later, Jose Mourinho was basically judging him on that particular moment. You're not trying, sort of thing. You're lazy. You're not good enough in that moment. Give us more. And apparently a week later, he apologized to Dele Alli and said, you know, you're not lazy. I'm sorry I shouldn't have said that. But Amazon never picked up on that. You know, so he said, but at the end of the day, that was out there and that was it. Then everyone, it was all of the newspapers that Dele Alli's lazy and his career just spiraled after that, you know. He started, maybe that's the point where he was at 24 asking, am I good enough? Can I do this? Is my career over? Do I need to retire at the age of 24? It's just a constant. So the media can print things, sometimes intentionally for headlines. Absolutely. The amount of times I click something thinking, oh, what's that? And then you think, scrolling.
But they're like vouchers.
Yeah.
They're like vouchers, like they're just looking for gossip to print at the end of the day, especially the British tabloid, right? It's never been like factual news. It's all about, you know, gossip stuff. You know, the leaks in the dressing room. Jose Mourinho, you know, he throw his players out of the bus. And I don't like that particular management style, right? You don't throw your players out of the bus, right? Like Conte, this old style management, right? What he was talking about, Dele Alli, was his relationship with what's his name, Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah,
and that is a leader that I am as well. Like, you know, that I look after my staff. You know, I understand, like, you know, and if they want to share about the personal life, I'm there. My door is always open, right? It's not closed, and I will never throw anyone on the bus. I would take the bullet in front of my team. Right, I run through the brick walls for my team just to set an example, right? And that is called leadership, you know. So a leader on the pitch will do the same, right? Like a Roy Keane, right? He will run through brick walls for the team, but he does expect that everyone run with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
In today's modern football, people get paid big bucks anyway, so they don't really. If I sit on the bench, whatever, I just get paid. That's the thing. That's how it comes down to, right? So if a Harry Maguire, for instance, everyone knows he needs to go. Even medium pundits say he needs to go. But I want him to go for several reasons, that he doesn't fit the system. And I think of his personal best career that, you know, go and play football, because that's what you are. You're a footballer, not a bench warmer. Right.
Yeah.
Jadon Sancho. We spoke about broken Sancho. Right. There's a play in Jadon. I don't think Jadon's going anywhere this summer.
No.
I think this is the year of Sancho.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think little things like this Dele Alli interview will make him just realise that even if he doesn't do a public interview or whatever, hopefully that these players will open up to each other, to the people around them, and share what those things that people are saying.
Craig, he stole my thought. What I was saying, he was a bully and toxic. 100% he was. You know, he was only caring about himself and winning. Same with Conte. It wasn't about the team. It was me. Respect me, winning titles. You know, but Conte did, like, he walked away and said, Spurs, it's all about me, right? I'm only here for the short term. Just recruit the players for me that I can win. It's all about me. So that's, for me, it's not leadership, right?
Yeah, Pochettino, what Dele Alli was saying, for anybody who's not seen the interview, he was saying that Poch got to know him as a person. He asked him what his life was like before football. He wanted to know what his background was. It doesn't suggest in the interview that he came out and told him everything, but it told him that he knew enough to care about him as a person as well as a player. And that's massive. And he said, and the other thing he pointed out, which I think is worth mentioning, because you just start to think how many careers this could impact, you know, how many people it could impact. When you look at, he said that different, you know, he'd put his trust in Poch. He'd got to know him, and then he'd opened up to him, and then Poch left his job, and then Mourinho came in. And I'm just going to potentially defend Mourinho, because we don't know what happened. What we know is he came in, was given a job to do, but at the same time, what Dele Alli was saying was basically, I had to start again. You know, I had to start again, and I wasn't given that opportunity. He suggests he wasn't given that opportunity. He was dropped from the team, And maybe Mourinho didn't get to know why you're not performing. He just put it down to a personality thing, and maybe Mourinho has messaged him and said, I'm sorry, or maybe he's seen the interview and said, I didn't know. I wish you'd have spoke up. We don't know.
He attacked Popka in public as well,
and Shaw and many others. He was fat. He was lazy. He said that Luke Shaw can't play as a defender because I'm always telling him what to do and telling him where to run. That is mental health. How is he getting away with those kind of things? I agree with that. That is completely toxic. Not prepared to take any blame himself. A good manager will stand up there and take some of the abuse, take it on themselves. And Yala was saying earlier, that's one of the reasons why I like Ten Hag. They allowed Sancho to take the time he needed and get the help he needed.
That's why I love him.
And today Sancho's getting so much heat. He is getting heat. But at the end of the day, the manager who tells him when he can play, who tells him what he can do, who gives him the belief, and we've seen Ten Hag give belief to his players, that he'll be doing that right now with his team. And straight away, we saw him start the other day, and he looked a bit sharp. He looked like he could do it a bit sharper in the box and stuff, but he was making the runs and the movement, and it's looking promising for this season. So big up Sancho.
Big up Sancho. Yeah, no, there's 2 points that I want to take away from that comment with Ten Hag. I recognize myself in Ten Hag's leadership, and I often speak about mental agilities, like personal traits, drivers, mental agility, and this is something that Erik Ten Hag is practicing, right? He sees the player, the person, not the player as well. That's the thing, and he will do anything to help that player. As a team member, as a family member, he cares. And that's why he doesn't want to work with more than 26, 27 people in the same squad, because it becomes too much. And that's the thing. The positive takeaway from the Dele Alli story is he found his inner strength in himself. He found the passion that I am a good footballer. That's what I want to be. I want to get back to the top, and that is my spark. No matter what everyone has been telling me, that I'm lazy, that I'm fat, or never this, I know who I am. And I went through therapy, and people gave me positive, reinforcement, to believe and find myself, my inner voice. What are you good at? I'm good at football. Well, let's go, son. So you can see the fire in his belly, and he was so happy and relieved, and he was ready to talk about it. And he could not wait to get back to the pitch and prove himself, right? And that's what I believe, we should support and back the team, no matter what, I always say support.
Yeah. That's what I want to see this season. I want to see this season. I want to see, after a game of somebody having a bad performance, I want to see us say, clapping, say, come on, it'll be all right, boys, it'll be all right, and not getting abuse and not getting slammed, and Mason Mount, new player, and any other new players who come in and being judged before they've even had a chance. And
what my first taglines was when I started the channel, right? Maybe it's a little bit ugly to say, but I always said that, if, don't slag the team if they haven't really kicked the ball yet, support the team for fuck's sake. That's the thing, right? Support the whole team. And that is the Manchester United way, the way it used to be. You support the team, not playing your FC, right? You don't get on the bandwagon of, slagging them or, because of bad performances. Harry Maguire got a lot of boos in England, and I felt ashamed for being a Manchester United fan for booing, right? I didn't boo him, right? But I certainly can criticize if you're not good on the pitch, right? But nobody deserves to be booed, right? But that comes down to intelligence, if childless, you're grown men, seriously, you're grown men, and you're acting like a 5-year-old. Sorry for being criticized for criticizing, but it is what it is. You cannot. What you can do is, in terms of change management, is to reinforce, to build this community. What we do, to spread the positivity, and the rings goes underwater, and more people will come and watch, and certain channels will then look at us and we'll start doing the same, and you can start spreading positivity. I remember this Twitter account, if you remember, Man United Mania, Tommy, right? He started with this very positive and tagging people, and no Manchester United fan should have less than 100 followers and tagging people. That's positive, right? That started a positive trend, and I salute him, right? But you know what? That's true. We are family, and we should love each other instead of arguing against each other. And don't throw the stones on anyone that you don't know. If you do, then you're yourself a bully.
Don't throw the stones, full stop.
100%. Right. Well, today. What
Sorry,
is John deciding?
Oh, sorry, that's just gone. So somebody just said earlier, you know, Gary Speed shook me to the core. He did match the day hours before he took his life. Absolutely. I remember waking up just thinking, when I saw the headlines for that, I was just like, what? You just never know. I just want to go back to, off the back of this, something that I did prepare. I'm not going to read too much because of kind of highlighted some certain parts, but I just want to kind of raise some points as I go along. It's
about to wrap up soon.
Okay, I'll keep it as quick as I can. So this was the worst I've felt on a football pitch after a game by a mile. I was mentally devastated, angry, and frustrated by my performance and by United's. This is Michael Carrick's autobiography. He's talking about when United lost in Rome in the final to Barcelona. He says, the pain in my broken toe was nothing compared to the agony of defeat and underperforming. You know, people were slating players not knowing that he had a broken toe. I was numb, just standing there, staring into space, asking why. Everything I did in the game felt like it was going through my mind on repeat. I was beating myself up, sinking lower and lower, slipping into a depressed state. This was the start of it for Carrick. Carrick went through depression. People, you know, a lot of people might not know that because it wasn't a social media thing. It wasn't a big interview. He said the boss summed up exactly how I was feeling after the game. After he finished, I just questioned myself again. I thought, am I good enough? They've just won 3 years of back-to-back championships. And he's asking, am I good enough? He says, I couldn't get the final out of my head. I was sat there in silence. I woke in the morning. The heartache was still there. It was like I'd been hit by a bus. I'd never been this low before. And it all started so quickly off the back of the media. When I got home, I sat in the garden. I didn't speak to anyone. I was totally numb. I hardly moved. My toe was clearly fractured, but Sir Alex didn't want anyone to know, or Barcelona, that I was struggling. And he just kept thinking, why? What have I done? My mind was besieged by so many questions, and I couldn't find answers. It was a lonely place to be. I had so much support and love from my family, but nobody could help me. I had to fight through the depths of depression, and that took a long, long time. And then months later, he just said, this is months later, I just wish I could move on from Rome. We went to Mallorca for a couple of weeks to try and recover physically from a long season, but more to recover mentally from Rome. All I could think of was Rome. I just couldn't shake it off. I just lay there in a daze. Lisa, his wife, was unbelievably patient. She could see I was suffering. There's so much more to it. It's not just the player, it's the family. You know, he had young kids. It was his child was helping him get through it. He was trying to trying to allow his child to be his go-to, but he just still couldn't shake it off. And it just said depression over a game of football sounds extreme, doesn't it? But I genuinely felt in a very dark place. After Rome, I felt like I was grieving. I'd had a string of massive high, 3 league titles and win a Champions League final, then I hit rock bottom. Looking back at the mess my mind was in, this was totally irrelevant. Roma defeated me. Even now, a decade on, so he's talking 10 years later, the gloom from Rome is completely gone. This is talking, it hasn't completely gone, sorry. I returned pre-season and couldn't shake the depression off. And the season was worse one for United. I'd lost the edge. I had a heavy head and a heavy heart. Even my body felt heavier. It felt like I was stuck in a rut. Stop, start, stop. I tried, but I just couldn't shake myself into life. Confidence is a major part. This is the part I want to really get to, because I want to raise this, because this is what my whole thing was about when I wanted to do this today. I want us as fans, I want us to start with us, with the 50 people, however many people view this afterwards. I want people to remember this as we go into the season. Confidence is a major part of a sportsman's performance. When it's there, it takes you for granted. And if it disappears, it's desperate. In games, I went from having a calm, clear, sharp mind to a cloudy, slow, uncertain one. I went from seeing the best option without even thinking to seeing 6 things at once and choosing the worst one at the wrong time. I knew it was all in my head, but I felt that I couldn't turn to anyone for help. I'm too stubborn. I don't find it easy to open up to people. Only Lisa, obviously his wife, and Graham, his brother, and his mum and dad. And that period after Rome was a depression I had to confront on my own. I felt trapped in a vicious circle. My football suffered because of my bleak mood, which made me feel worse. So my mood darkened further. Could I play my way out of depression? Maybe I was getting my belief back, maybe not. I got subbed after an hour in Istanbul, and I was in and out the side till October. It's a lonely place when you're not in the team, training and trying to give your best, searching for that feeling, knowing you aren't performing near the level you can, and praying the next season will be the turning point, asking when would that be me again. When I did play, there was no hiding place. This right now is 15 years later, and we're looking at Sancho in this exact situation, mirroring one bad game, one bad performance. How much did I go back to the England missing that penalty, not being able to play? Played great at the beginning of the tournament, one game. Him and Rashford had a fantastic game. I think they scored goals, whatever, weren't played again for the rest of the tournament. Brought on in the very last game. We've not played at all, tried to score a penalty. The whole world turned against them, not only about them missing the penalty.
But you know, I blame that on Southgate. I blame that on Southgate, to be honest.
But it doesn't matter who we blame. The point, I agree, but because he should never have thrown them into it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Southgate who turned on them. It wasn't Southgate who sent all this abuse. It wasn't Southgate who started the racism. It was the people that physically throwing things at the coaches and videos saying, "I'm going to kill you and I wish you were dead." And it's like, this is a young person, and I want us to keep thinking about this. And tonight I've put my Sancho shirt on because, as you know, I really, really want this guy to be successful, not just at United, but in life. I want this to. I don't know what it is. I've just got this. I've just got this passion for him to succeed. And I want him to be able to get through this. And I want, as fans, us to be able to sit there and remember these words that Carrick wrote 15 years ago, and remember that it's just as relevant today. But this is when social media wasn't really around, so he's put it in a book. But if you've not read it, read it, because it's a fantastic story of what a player goes through, from starting, from being in the academy, from being at West Ham, from living all over the place, trying to make it, thinking I've got there, no, I've not. A failure, and as fans we just watch them and go, well, they're in the team, why are they not performing? They better turn up. They're not, shouldn't play like that for my team. The humans at the end of the day, please remember this.
Definitely. Sorry, Neil, I saw you tried to share your story. You could not phone in, going to bed now. God bless you as well, Neil. Thank you, Mick and Phil, about mental health really helped me. Big up to you. Good night, Mr. Driscoll. David is also saying that definitely helped me tonight. This therapy. Thanks. Glad I stumbled on your channels. I'm trying in chat to real life about my mental health. Now I'm suffering in silence, but easier said than done. This is positive. At the end of the day, like, what did we learn from here? You know, what is the takeaway? That don't sit in silence. And be nice to each other. I always end up the stream and be nice to each other on the socials, and that it has a meaning when I'm saying that. You know, somebody said peace, love, and banana. You did.
Definitely love peace and bananas.
Yeah. So I always say be nice to each other in socials, because at the end of the day, like, you know, it is just socials. You don't know each other in real life. That's the thing. So who are you to judge? Players are humans. Players have emotions and feelings. They're not superheroes, right? It's so easy to point the finger and blame somebody because they failed. But look at yourself. How many times have you failed at work, in your personal relationship, in your life? Did you have over 1 million fans turn on you, or people point the finger? You know, you can imagine they are living with constant scrutiny and constant pressure to perform, to stay fit, to eat the right diet. And when they do have time off, they're not really having time off because they're constantly bombarded by media, by fans. You know, how dare you going on that holiday, right? Warm weather holiday. People sending pictures of, you know, Harry Maguire or whoever it is, Jadon Sancho, training somewhere. Donny van de Beek is another one. I'm a guardian of Donny van de Beek, to be honest, because I feel sorry for the lad. I feel sorry for him because he had bad luck. He's a fantastic player. He got bought in by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They never used him. He trained his socks off, and people were saying, Donny's such a gentleman. He's such a nice lad. He wasn't that person that spoke up. He went out and did an interview on one of these channels, get never picked. Yeah. Then he got shipped off to Everton, did fantastic first 3-4 games, had an injury, came back under. Finally, I thought, he's under his father, Ten Hag. And then you had this ugly tackle. If you remember this ugly tackle that almost broke his knee, and now he's back on training. So I hopefully want to see Donny van de Beek being given one last chance, one last dance saloon to show the fans who you are, Donny van de Beek, to show you that the luck has turned, right? Because let's face it, he had bad luck for 2-3 years, 100%. So I want to see at least guardian of Sancho is Phil. I'm the guardian of Donny. And let's hope if they stay, they do fantastic. And I hope that the whole team are fantastic. And people don't forget that we still are in the transfer window. We only been recruiting for, a week since the international window is open. The domestic window was open. We got the business done. We're getting Onana in. Ten Hag has a plan. He will go for Amrabat. He will go for the striker. So it's not you that pick the player. Maybe it's your choice. Maybe it's your favorite that you want to get. But you got to look at the whole team, right? What matters is that we start winning games and we are going back to the glory days and that we are united as a fan base. So that means that we can talk about everything, that we can set our differences on the side. If you've seen that we are collaborating with a lot of fan channels, basically, because we are the family. But for them who doesn't want to collaborate with us, it's not my problem. We are not elitism, right? It's all about humbleness, people. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. It's been a long day to finish off this stream with sharing and caring, for you to understand who I am, who you are, John, who Phil is, and everyone in this community. It is getting a step closer to understanding who we are. And it's all about paying forward, isn't it, John?
Yes, absolutely. I'd just like to say one thing from the community, from the VAR room. We'd like to thank you too, and Jarvis, obviously.
And Jarvis.
So thank you.
Thank you. We should see you on Sunday. We are back on Sunday. We're doing the weekly review, hopefully with Jarvis. And, Phil, I am forever grateful because Phil was the first one to join my panel, basically. But I understand Phil, he's always apologizing. I want to do that, mate. I was like, Phil, don't worry. You don't have to apologize because take care of your family. That comes first. Take care of your children. Make sure they're good. When you can, you come on. So always... You don't have to say sorry, Phil.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, tomorrow I'm off to. In 9 hours, I've got to be taking 50 kids to the zoo. So it just doesn't stop.
Oh my god! Then we can talk about your mental health after that.
It should be good. It should be good. Little comment from Edward Reed, a little bit of lightheartedness to finish. I'm the guardian of them both. I'm the guardian of the galaxy. Fantastic, Edward. Love it. Love that. Great little comment to put a
Thank
smile.
You. Superb show with Stephanie saying love for each other of the United, 100%. And Yali saying have a nice trip to the zoo and say hello to the monkeys. That's what I said. I will question your mental sanity after handling 50 kids at the zoo.
It's it'd be good. It'd be a great day out, even though it's going to rain all day. But I'll be shattered tomorrow night. I'll be shattered tomorrow night, and there's no game to worry about tomorrow night to rush back for. So I'll be all right.
No, tomorrow is a day off for me. No streaming, nothing. It's just family time, relax, chill, and that's all, folks. Right? I think it's David said, "Lit show." Big up to all of you. Thanks. I guess the positive thing is that we dare to talk about it. That's the positive.
Certainly.
The learning curve of this is that we can continue. We can continue to dare to do these kind of shows. It doesn't always have to be about football because at the end of the day, we're human beings that love football, but we're also human beings that share feelings, right? Thank you, Mr. Ball. You're a baller that came in for the second time today. big up to you, and big up to the VR room. Big up for everyone that shared the stories. Phil, fantastic research, fantastic stories that you told us as well. Peace. Actually, I'll let John Ball, that is the inventor of the word, to say it.
Love, peace, and bananas.
That's it. Good night, people. Hope you sleep well. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, John
Good night,
Ball.
everyone. Sleep tight.
See you.
God bless.
Cheers. God bless. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the like button. It's free. Bye for now.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.